Okay, so who can recognize these three? These are considered invasive. Say again? That one's the burning bush. Yeah, do you have any on campus here? We've got a lot of them too. So yeah, burning bush over there used to be planted in gardens. Everybody think they were really beautiful and turns out to be an invasive species. How about that one right there? It's the one you said.
That's bittersweet.
That's bittersweet. And that one up there?
It's either buckthorn or autumn.
You got it. That is a buckthorn right there. So you can't see the bark very well, but that's a glossy buckthorn, another very, very common invasive species. So notice how the names are getting a little bit more negative sounding. And so here we are at a class of plants and animals too that are considered to be causing us problems. So the definition of what is invasive is actually a federally defined category. Okay, so here it is. So when you have something that is a non-native exotic plant and it becomes a nuisance and then really steps out of its bounds to become invasive, this is the definition. Okay, so under consideration, whose introduction is likely to cause economic or environmental harm or harm to human health. So that is really where the line is drawn. Okay, now immediately it sounds like this is something really bad. So invasives are, again, things we don't like to think about. And when I started this class, and I'd been looking at so long at all these types of invasives, I'm like, what am I going to talk about here? I was really intrigued at the fact that invasive biology as an academic field is full of controversy. So one of the main things I wanted to do with this class was show students how much biologists argue about invasive species. So there's a whole big tradition of people who say invasive species, we got to get rid of them, they're awful. We need to get them out of every single kind of native habitat. They're bad for all the native species of organisms. And then there are people who say, but wait a minute, all these invasive species being here, aren't they really going to end up being part of the landscape? When do we really kind of consider them to be native? So some of them have been around a very long time. At what point do you just kind of have to say, those are just sort of part of us now? Does that make sense? So there's a whole bunch of other people who argue with these invasive biologists and say, well, wait a second. If we don't spend so much time worrying about getting rid of them, maybe we can actually do a lot of kind of like good around that and not necessarily have to worry so much about this problem. So back to my guiding quote. Integrity, stability, and beauty of the biotic community. When those things are disturbed, Aldo Leopold says, that is going to be something that is bad. So we know with ethics, of course, it's all about deciding what is right and wrong, okay, and trying to make as a society some of these choices, right? And around invasives, this can be very tricky. So I start with this notion of value.